Hi there, I'm Ian Willoughby, and this is episode 14 of Czech Next Wave. This is a podcast created by the Czech Centres Network and Radio Prague International, and it's all about bringing some of the most talented Czechs to listeners all around the globe. And in this episode, we have a very special guest, one of the country's most successful designers, Lucie Koldová. In fact, Lucie has twice been named overall winner of the Czech Grand Design Awards, most recently last year. She's best known for her beautiful lights and is art director at the leading Czech lighting manufacturer Brokis. Enjoy my chat with the incredibly talented Lucie Koldová in this edition of Czech Next Wave. My first question, Lucie, is quite a general one. What led you into design in the first place?
I think first it was curiosity and passion to find out what design means. Like I didn't know what it is, and when I found out that design consists of many different parts, like it's a complex discipline, let's put it like that. I saw it in a way that you combine art with like functional meanings. So I translated this to myself that it actually has a sense. Like it's not only art, but it also is very useful for people. And I wanted to be in touch with people.
I was reading that when you were younger, you were a successful athlete. What was your discipline and how good were you?
I did the triple jump. Well, I was quite successful as a junior, and I participated some European events like the champion of the Czech Republic. Yeah, but it's again quite complex. So which means that this could actually mean that I was bridging like the complex discipline as a triple jumper, and design was complex enough for me to combine all together.
In interviews, you often describe yourself as being things like dynamic. You say whatever you do to the maximum. Where does that drive come from?
From inside. I think I was born that way. Like when I start something, I simply always wanted to achieve the maximum, and I was never happy with halfway done principle.
So you've always had this kind of competitive edge.
Well, when I was during my grammar school or high school, and then I wanted to do things right, which means that you don't have to be competitive to understand that if you want to do something very good, so you need to mean it seriously. And then when you mean it seriously and you put your heart in it, many times you are one of the best, because then you achieve something bigger.
You went to the Academy of Arts, Architecture and Design in Prague, also known as UMPRUM. How did you find UMPRUM? Was it a fertile environment in which to study?
This was also, at the very beginning, my first touch with design. When I finished my high school, I wanted to go on with my artistic approach to things, and I was working on my skills as a, let's say, in graphic fields and different kinds of art disciplines. But then I found out about UMPRUM, and I found out about how great it is to be there, and I found the spirit super cool. So I really wanted to be a part of it, and design completely mesmerized me.
And straight after your studies, you went to work in Paris. And I'm curious how living and working in Paris shaped you. How did it influence you?
Well, I love to say that I didn't choose Paris back then, but Paris chose me in a way, because I was pretty sure that I was going to go to London and everything was almost set and prepared. But then I got the great chance and challenge to go and move to Paris instead. And I felt like, well, why not? But on the other hand, I was pretty shocked at the beginning that as a young and very, let's say, I was at the beginning of everything, and I wanted to be a part of the Parisian design scene, and obviously I want to go to parties and to really enjoy Paris. So I was very confused, and it was very hard for me to to get familiar with the scene and with the mentality of Parisian people. But now when I evaluate my past, right, my past years, but back then I took it very seriously, and many times I felt like in a washing machine that I needed to understand, and I couldn't find my way out. And many times I was like also very lonely because I wanted to penetrate the scene and I wanted to be in touch with the French people. But also what was very difficult for me was that I didn't speak French. So they also gave me a hard lesson, like, okay, fair enough, you want to speak English, we don't mind. But then they were so well scared, like they didn't want to speak English, even though they knew how to speak a little bit, but they didn't want to perform. So there was a big barrier. Then I met a good friend who was also a foreigner, and we managed to work together the first 2 or 3 years, and I found my like a bubble to survive Paris. Well, it's a funny thing because everybody thought, wow, you have a very sweet life. Everybody would love to be in Paris. Of course, I was very grateful to be there, but on the other hand, it was a very hard lesson.
Whenever I go to Paris, I'm so often struck by how so many things in Paris are really tasteful. For example, you see the flower shops that are just beautiful. And I was curious, how was it for you coming from that environment back to the Czech Republic, where there is maybe less emphasis on good taste?
Well, I see it as an opportunity to be a part of this creative scene. It's very important to feel that you can change things. But if you are in such a developed city in a way, you cannot make such an important impact, or you have the feeling that there's like really tons of people trying to, let's say, in a good way survive, like to be fruitful and to be someone who can also create and to be paid by their creation, which is also quite an achievement in such a big city. But in Czech, I think what makes sense to me is that we have a treasure. We have some traditions here. We are bound by the history, and well, simply we understand each other in a way. And when we want, if we want, we could make things right, and we could move it much faster, much further. And it's also very meaningful.
You work in various areas, you do furniture, glass items, lights. What for you is the most important of those areas?
I think the light is something that characterizes me nowadays. Also simply because I'm as an art director of Brokis, I work as the creative or art director a couple of years already. So this determines me. And also I think that light is something very special for me. There is the energy that you need to count on with in the design. So it's not just a formal task to create a table. Even a table and a chair, of course, the chair is considered to be the most difficult in the design area. On the other hand, for me, a good light is also a very big challenge, because there is not just the shape and the function, but there is also the energy which makes the most out of it. Like you create a statue, and if it's off, it's a part of the interior as well as the chair or other furniture piece. But in the night, you simply don't feel many times the shape, but you see the energy, the reflection, and the intensity. So you can play with many different aspects.
And say, for example, if you're working on a glass item or working on lights, I presume you have to work in contact with very highly skilled craftsmen in these areas. How much do you have to understand the technical aspects of production and so on? When you start designing something, how much do you have to think about the technical side?
I was more free, or I felt myself much more free if I didn't know so much, because I could go much further and play without the knowledge behind. But now, well, I can imagine how the glass blowers will react when I show this. If the glass is, if it's even possible to reach this shape. It's not about the size, but it's about the ripples. It's about the edges. How I can achieve certain certain details. So I think that it should be a certain balance that you understand, but you are not tied by the boundaries. So there is a certain, like a balance that you have to feel.
I'm sure a huge amount of work goes into every collection that you do, but what's your favorite phase when you're doing a collection? Or is there any phase that you find particularly difficult or hard?
I tend to be nervous in the first phase. Like there is the thrill. Sometimes I think about a certain piece, and then I match it with the company, and then I get completely excited. Like, okay, that would be a perfect idea for this one, and I think that we can achieve like to fill in a certain gap on the market. So this is very exciting moment, but at the same time, to get the idea into the shape and into the possibility of production is quite like I'm very nervous. Like how to achieve it, because you don't know how you make it happen, right? But then I like the last phase as well, like when the idea is ready and materialized in a production, and I'm waiting for the very first prototype, because then it's like the baby when it's born, you see it for the first time, and then usually I get the shock, like there are some changes which I'm not prepared for, so then I need to really like calm down and to think twice and third time, and then I start to like it.
You have your own studio, Lucia. How does your business work in terms of how you choose clients or how they choose you, and how does that collaboration typically work?
Oh, it's again a very unexpected and dynamic process. Maybe the majority is that we met in the past, then they were following me for a couple of years. If it's like a more prestigious company or progressive one, so they like to see what I'm capable of. So many times happened to me with like a foreign company that they would really have a look at me for some time, and then we have a good opportunity at the fair. So they tell me like, let's think about something mutual, or let's do a project together, or they simply send me an email saying like, look, as we talked last time, let's start something together. Or when I work with Brokis, there is a continuity that every year I would come up with ideas, and we do several extensions of those successful collections. There are some things that I initiate, like that I have some companies that I like here in the Czech Republic, like MMCT or Master and Master. So they are friends, and usually for friends or people that you meet many times and you are in a good collaboration or in a good contact, then the idea comes more easily. It's not like you would get a brief and you have to go to the company to see and to get inspired first and to target it very well. Like these companies that I named, you know very well what they do, and then when you have a good idea, then it matches much more easily. So then we go to have a drink or to have a coffee, and we plan our mutual goal, and it's really fun. And I think that when design is fun and is a pleasure for the creator, that is the start of a good result.
You are the first, and I believe only, Czech designer invited to take part in the Das Haus at the IMM trade fair in Cologne, which essentially involves creating a kind of ideal home. Being invited is a major honor, and I'm sure it was a great moment in your career. Tell us about your house at the trade fair in Cologne.
Well, it was a super cool event, I have to say. I was pretty much nicely surprised how it turned out, and I was very grateful that they thought of me and invited me there. It took me 9 months to achieve the final presentation. And one day I got a call from the organizer asking me if I'm capable of doing it, because back then I had a small baby, the first one. So I needed to consider it seriously at home if I'm really able to get the help and the support from the family so I can travel back and forth to Germany. I was also responsible for some press conferences in The Hague. So it was a lot of traveling and a lot of responsibility, because the contract was also bound me to be present a couple of days and to be available for the press interviews from the early in the morning till the afternoon. So it was very time consuming and also energy consuming. But we did very well, and I got a lot out of it. And one of my goals was also to talk to the companies and to develop new pieces, which later on were launched at the market. And this was the biggest achievement for me, to be able to go to the company and have this kind of big ball in my hands and saying like, look, let's do it together. And you also get the popularity, or like, you know, the participation at the prestigious events. And they took it very well, and I had really strong partners to present with.
Part of the Das Haus project was your chips chair, inspired by the potato chip, for the very well-known traditional Czech chair maker Ton. How exciting was it for you working with Ton, which must be a name that you've known like all your life?
Yeah, that was actually the thing that I talked about earlier, that working normally with Ton means that you have to develop a chair maybe a couple of years. You have to count on some delays. Then there is the strategy, how to put it or to present it on the market, when is the best time. There's many factors stepping into the process. I have been there many times and not always successful. And this time they like to be very visible on the German market, and this was a good occasion for them as well. And we managed to make the chips chair ready from the very first idea to Das Haus, I think in 5 months, which was unbelievable. I was not sure that they could make this kind of generous and large size idea in a couple of months, but they reacted like super well. They were excited from the very first moment. And I think that was the good match, like the designer, the company, the occasion, and we succeeded big time.
As well as looking amazing, many of your works also have great titles like Chips, Muffin, Macaron, Balloon. How important is a sense of fun for you in design?
You mean the names, how important they are?
And the idea that they're kind of fun names.
I don't see it as funny names, but I think that if it resembles the look so well and they're so alike, then I feel strange not to put it. I mean, I don't think that you should come up with like super, like extra sophisticated name when it is a simple balloon or a muffin. And the coincidence was that I was living across a bakery, and you keep it in your subconsciousness, and that was like simply a win-win situation to name it like this. And the chips chair was not that I would eat chips in my life or that I like them especially. I have a jewelry piece like this chips, which I was given by my mom. And I was wearing it during that period of time. And I simply said like, wow, that's such a cool thing. Like it's bent circle. So I was playing with it, and I came up with this idea. So it was from this miniature of jewelry. So I created this kind of chair for Ton.
You've been very successful now for over a decade. When you look around you, do you perceive any change or development in the Czech design scene in general in that period of, let's say, 10, 15 years?
Yeah, I think big time. Especially when I came back from France. When I left, I didn't feel that the Czech scene would be very rich or somehow fruitful that much. I knew that here are some talents or like skilled people, but I wanted to see more. I mean, not more in quantity, but I wanted to see how the real life feels like, and to be a part of a bigger scene where you really have to perform somehow. Not that here there were like 10 interesting people, and you know, it's very small here in the Czech Republic. But when I got back, I could feel that the change was really present, and I wanted to be a part of it. And I didn't feel that we don't have enough. We have enough, but we're simply a small country with really very good people, very talented people who need to fight to find their way around. And I think that sometimes when you see great stuff, beautiful shops and fashion stores in Paris, many times can be also superficial. Like people cannot even say hi to each other, or like the quality doesn't have to be equal to the beautiful side of the city. So I love Paris, but I love it even more when I'm here in Czech. I can appreciate what I've been through, and that it was really different. People act different, and I really cherish what we have here in Czech.
My final question, Lucie, is looking to the future. What are your professional dreams? What are the things that you would like to achieve in your career? You've already achieved a lot, but going forward?
Now, at this moment, I have 2 small kids, and for me, it has been pretty much hard to, like, I do things and I mean it well, and I think that with the producers we do quite important pieces and stuff. However, for me, it's very difficult to switch the lives between the family and between my creation. But I have chosen to be present at the same time on both fields, and it's quite exhausting, to be honest. But on the other hand, I cannot live one life without the other life, so I made it difficult for myself. On the other hand, I cannot do otherwise. So looking to the future, I think that I will be able to breathe a bit and to think what I want in my next level. In half a year, my kids will be at school and in the kindergarten, and I think that my hands will be more free, and I will be able to enjoy my creation much deeper. I don't know how to explain it, but now I'm very effective. I need to cut the creation when the kids need me, and I need to spare time for them. And I'm not saturated, me as Lucie, as the person. So I needed to suppress myself to be able to support the 2 fields. And I hope for being able to do things which I have in my mind, like my own collection without the producers, maybe my arty collection, which will not be pressed by time, but which will be driven by my inner passion again, and to feel the freedom to create what I want.
Many thanks indeed to Lucie Koldová for taking time out from her busy schedule to speak to me for Czech Next Wave. By the way, if you noticed a faint sound in the background once or twice, that was Lucie's very cute kids. This has been episode 14 of the podcast, so if you're with us for the very first time, there are of course many more available for your listening pleasure. Check them out and do of course subscribe. Czech Next Wave is produced by the Czech Centres Network and Radio Prague International. Our theme music is by keyboard wizard Andrei Pivets. I'm Ian Willoughby. Thank you so much for listening, and speak to you again very soon.